Hello and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for another fan takeover show. This morning we're talking Barnsley with Joe Beardsall. Joe, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, George. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it, mate. Good to be
Oh,
here.
good. Let's hope that stays that way for the next 20 minutes or so. Barnsley fans watching, do get in touch. We've got a comment section across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So do get in touch with any Tykes related questions that you want to send in, and we'll try and field them in the next 20 minutes. So we are live, so we'll do our very best. But let's get straight into the show. And we're going to start by looking back at the transfer window that's just gone, about a week or so now. The window's been shut. Joe, let's look at Barnsley's business. Let's talk generally first of all. Are you happy with what happened for the Tykes in the summer?
Yeah, I am. I am really happy, actually. I mean, it was a bit weird because our last transfer was 2 days after the window had shut. So we were all saying we need a left back, and then 2 days later it was announced. Apparently, it was done 5 minutes before the window shut, so that's why it was announced a bit late. So that last one definitely just perked us up a bit. But I said as soon as we were knocked out of the playoffs last season, George, that the main thing for Barnsley this summer was how many can we keep? That was the bottom line. Can we keep this squad? Usually, as soon as Barnsley have a little bit of success, we all know how it goes. Smaller club in the Championship, we tend to get ripped to shreds, and all our players are off to bigger clubs. Didn't happen this time, and that's down to, I think, partly because of the coronavirus and teams maybe not spending as much as they usually would, but also just great ownership at the minute. Some Barnsley fans might not always agree with me on that and agree with everything the owners do, but they've not sold. They've had a lot of offers and not sold the players, so credit where credit's due on that one, I think. Yeah, we've kept the likes of Mikael Helik, who's absolutely vital to us at the back, Callum Styles, Callum Britton, really exciting players, obviously still very young as well. So that's really great to see. Obviously, gutting to lose Alex Mowat, but his contract was up. We all sort of expected he might fancy another challenge, and with Valerian going to West Brom, it was quite easy to see why he'd follow him there. So we get that one. And Daryl DK was on loan from Orlando City, another key player for us, but we knew we weren't probably going to get him, to be fair. So no real surprises for us in terms of the two that went out, and the ones we've kept are all really exciting. And then we brought in a few others. Josh Benson, midfield. He looks like some player, to be fair, mate. He looks like he's going to be top level for Championship. I saw some of the comments, and you can always tell if you go on opposition fans' Twitter page after they lose a player, whether they think he's good or not, because there was a lot of Burnley fans sort of saying, yeah, we're kind of gutted he's gone, and which was good to see from a Barnsley perspective, because we knew we were getting someone decent, and he has been very good so far. Completely different player to Alex Mowat, but a very, very talented player. And we haven't seen the other lads, unfortunately. It's been a very stop-start season for Barnsley, because there's two Belgium strikers. They've been waiting to get visas until now, so we're hoping to see them this weekend away at Bournemouth, fingers crossed, because they've been just back and forward to Belgium, I think, from what I've heard.
Yeah, no, I saw an interview with Callum Britton, I think, earlier this week, and he said he's very excited to see the guys that are waiting for visas to actually be in action. So that's really exciting. Let's talk about some of the players that you mentioned there in a little bit more depth, Joe. Let's talk about Alex Mowat, of course. An expected departure, as you said there. Obviously, a key player last season. Were you perhaps a little bit surprised? Obviously, Ismail's gone to West Brom, but were you surprised maybe that a Premier League move didn't materialise for him?
Yeah, I mean, lower Premier League, possibly. I think I was a little shocked that he didn't get any offers there, but it's difficult with Alex. He's come on a lot. He's become I think he's grown in that season last year so much, from the first half of the season to the second half. We saw the transformation. A lot of people already knew he was a great player for the Championship, and we know that. But his leadership, George, that second half of the season was just so vital to getting us into the playoffs. There was games where it was really tight. We had 5 minutes where we're up against it, and Alex would just make a great tackle, intercept the ball, and just keep it for a few seconds, and just, the calm it down, lads, calm heads, and all that stuff. And yeah, and he's, we know what he's about. He's got an absolute worldie of a free kick on him and a shot, and but at the same time, it's just, for me, we're missing that experience, that little bit of leadership in there, and just a bit of strength as well. Obviously, great tackler, gets stuck in, just gets everybody motivated. And Valerian's attitude is very similar to Alex's, so I can see why they've both sort of partnered up at West Brom. But yeah, I think we are going to miss that. There's no doubt this season. It's going to be hard without him, but I still believe we've got enough talent to do really well this season. And maybe if you're asking Barnsley fans, one thing we did miss out on in the transfer window, Marcus Schopp, our new head coach, was asking for was the key E word that we call it, experience. Barnsley always like to have a little bit of experience because we know we are, we love that we have all the young players, but it is nice to just have that one or two older heads in there. And we lost Michael Solbauer as well, who's gone back to live with his family over Germany, Austria way. And he was also a very good player. Didn't play as much last season, but from the bench and, around the dressing room would have been a really good, wise head to have. So we've lost two older heads there. So that might be the one thing that's the slight concern so far.
In terms of incomings, I'm going to try and do their names justice, but the guys we've not seen, Claudio Gomez, Aaron Lyaseka, Obi Alare, Remy Vita, how much do you know about them? Obviously, we're waiting to really see them, get involved with Barnsley and play, what they'll hope is going to be lots of games this season in the Championship. But, at this early stage, how much do you know about them?
Not a great deal yet, but that's always good news because back in the day, it was if you signed a player that you'd not heard of, you'd have all the fans moaning saying, "Oh, who's this?" But now we know Barnsley's famous magic spreadsheet that seems to just keep on churning out talent. So we're very confident when we sign someone we've not heard of. There's some exciting signings in there. The two Belgium lads, I was speaking to our co-chairman the other week, and he called them elite players. He mentioned the word elite, said he wouldn't be able to get these sort of players if it weren't for the way the club's run and the way we had success last year. So that's exciting. Obviously, them two know each other from playing over in Belgium. And then the others, we've got two players, obviously one coming from Man City on loan, and then another one from Bayern Munich, who's been playing for Bayern Munich's second team. So obviously two massive clubs. You never know what you're going to get when you get academy sort of youth talent from those sort of big clubs. But I think that, it's fair to say City's setup is very good. We've played them twice. They're sort of younger team in the last couple of seasons, and they basically beat Barnsley quite comfortably. So there's some real talent in that squad. So Claudio Gomez, really looking forward to seeing him. Looks like a real talent. I am very excited to see him in action. Can't wait. We need it at the minute. We've been I think we've done really well considering how much we've had a few injuries. Carlton Morris is one of our most vital players, obviously getting injured against Luton early on in the season. That's gutting, but we need the reinforcement, George, but I think it's here now. And Bournemouth away, fingers crossed they'll probably be ready for maybe not Bournemouth, maybe not Stoke midweek, but the week after we might start seeing them, hopefully. Yeah,
certainly going to be exciting to see how they get on. Okay, let's move away from the transfer window and the playing squad for a moment. Let's talk Marcus Schopp. Obviously, a new manager in at Barnsley over the summer, not for the first time in the last few years, really. Another summer of change, really, for the Tykes. But, it looks as though it's been a pretty steady start, really, so far this season with Barnsley in the Championship. What have you made of him, Joe, Schopp? Early impressions?
I feel for him a little bit because you've got Valerian Ismail, who's got us fifth in the league, little old Barnsley getting fifth in the league. So poor old Marcus has got a tough act to follow, hasn't he, really, coming in and trying to get replicate that. He's changed the style a little bit. I'm still a little unsure if he's changed it a bit too much too early, but there's the way we're playing, we got criticised by some managers last season for being too direct, which I think in other words is just we didn't like that you beat us. But we got criticised for being too direct, and he's definitely changed that. We're playing much better slick passing football, but still trying to replicate that press, that high press and that high energy game that we had last season with Valerian. It's been tricky to do because we haven't got the 5 subs like we had last season. And obviously that was a big key thing. If you watch Barnsley last season, we get to half time, 50, 60 minutes, and Valerian would be bringing on 3 new strikers. And the opposition's defence are thinking, what are we going to do with this? I mean, we've got 3 new fresh strikers all going to be running at us for another half an hour. It's hard for Marcus because he can't do that. We've only got 3 subs. And also we've been a bit, obviously we've been down on strikers with the 2 new Belgium strikers not being able to play because of the visa issues. And Carlton Morris getting injured. So it's been like I said before, stop-start season for Marcus Schopp. But you've got to look at the bottom line. Last season at this point, George, we got 2 points on the board. So to have 6 points on the board, considering the teams they've played, QPR, who everybody's saying are going to be up there. Birmingham looked really good. Cardiff away, we tend to get nothing there, and we managed to get a point. And Luton just tend to beat us, and they beat us. So we expected a tough game against them always. They're a lot better than some people give them credit for. So it's been a tough run of fixtures, a tough start, but I think that the lads will get it together. And I think Marcus, by Christmas time, you'll start to really see the talent in the team. And I think his style, his little changes, hopefully will click into place, and you'll see Barnsley being a real threat this season. Whether we can replicate last season, that's a big if, because it's going to be tricky. It's going to be very hard to do that without that leadership of Alex Moore in the middle. But I still think we could be pushing. We could be pushing near that.
Do you think it's fair then? I mean, obviously you've hinted at moving away from the more direct style under Ismail. It should be fair to say then that it's been a bit more possession based under Schopp. But do you think with the players you've got there, it will take perhaps longer than this season, and maybe Schopp needs to be in for a couple of years to sort of get Barnsley back to the levels they were at last season?
Possibly, but then again, Valerian didn't have any problems getting his style in, and like I said, after 5 games, got 2 points. Valerian comes in and finished 5th. So I suppose different styles take longer to adapt to. The worry for Barnsley fans is the last time we tried to do the playing it out from the back sort of game, we know how it all went. It went very badly. I think back to a day at Preston away where I think we lost 5-1 and it was just horrible to watch. And I think that was the last game under Daniel Stendel's management. And we love Daniel Stendel, but it just did not work in the Championship for us at that time. Because you've got to have the players to do it. The lads have grown up a lot since then. We've got a lot of new faces, players who seem to be able to do it a lot better. Josh Benson, the new addition, he can do it really well. His passing's excellent. But Callum Styles, Callum Britton, all those usual regulars from last season have really adapted well to it. It's just a case of, are we changing too much too fast, and should we have probably stuck maybe a little bit more with Valerian's style just to start us off so that it was easier for us to adapt, especially considering the injuries we've got and a couple of the issues we've got around getting the new players embedded and playing. Short answer, I think it might take till next season. And if we get mid-table this season, that is a massive achievement for Barnsley Football Club in the Championship anyway. And I think most realistic fans would take that and say that's a really good achievement. But you never know. I'm always glass half full, George. So I'm not gonna rule us out for a playoff place. We might just sneak in there again.
Yeah, no, it's the best way to be, particularly in the Championship. You never know what's going to come around the corner. Just in terms of sort of the managerial succession that we've seen at Barnsley in recent years. Obviously, you mentioned Stendel there. We've had Gerhard Struber come in. Obviously Ismail, and then now we've got Schopp. I think it's fair to say, similar with a lot of the players that have come in at Barnsley recently, probably not heard too much about them in this country at least, and they've all sort of had relatively similar backgrounds, Central European backgrounds on their CVs. Do you think Barnsley are at a stage where, as you mentioned with the players, there's a real trust with the managerial recruitment? Because yes, we don't know too much about these names coming in, but there's always an expectancy with Barnsley that these managers come in, we might not have heard about them, but we kind of trust the Tykes to have done their homework, and they're going to bring in someone that's going to be doing a good job.
Yeah, I think the players just know that they really do have trust in it, and I think a lot of the fans are starting to get trust in it as well. It's this amazing structure that they've come up with at Barnsley that it's all in place, and it's just about tweaking it. So yes, you might get a slightly different manager. Valerian's obviously a very different character to Marcus Schopp, but it's they still have the same ethos, they still have the same sort of way they want to do things, and it's just maybe slight tweaks of style. And that's been really impressive to see. I mean, how many teams do you see where they'll have 3 or 4 managers off the bounce that have been successful? I'd argue, obviously, Daniel Stendel for us got us promoted out of League One, so he was successful, but unfortunately just not in the Championship. Struber chose to leave. I think he would have stayed at Barnsley. If he would have chose to stay at Barnsley last year, Barnsley would have kept him, even though we had a bad start, because he kept us up, which was an absolute miracle, to be fair. And then you've got, Valerian and Schopp. So for me, I trust it. I don't mind that it's an unknown. I'd rather have someone who's going to be given an opportunity, and they've, they track these managers for a while, George. It's not a case of just, we're panic buttons pressed, Valerian's gone off to West Brom, who we're going to get. It's, okay, no, Marcus Schopp's already top of the list, and we know that he's the man that we want, so we're going to go and see if we can get him. So that, that's the best way to be, because we know these days there's not that much loyalty in football. So planning ahead, having that, this is the person we're going to get. And, the club have said that about players as well. If one leaves and we get an absolutely crazy offer for someone and we decide to sell, which we only will if it's a really big offer, there's another 10 names on the list ready to pick through to bring one of them in. So it's a really good structure. it's not just thinking about the here and now. It's not just thinking about how we're going to be successful this season. It's thinking about in 5 years' time, how we're going to be able to keep progressing and get up there. And you can see that in the progression, mate. We went from Championship down to League One when they first came in, the new owners, back up to the Championship. We managed to just about stay in the Championship, which was, to be fair, maybe a few mistakes made that season, I have to admit. Maybe sold a couple more than we needed to at the time. And then now we've slowly seen that progression and back up to slowly. Playoffs last season was amazing. So, if we can steady the ship again and get around that mark or just in mid-table, it's all going well for us, to be fair.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's definitely been impressive to watch Barnsley, bring in these different managers and still make that progression, which is, been really good to see. Okay, let's move away from the managerial chat. Let's take a look at the season so far. And we've sort of touched on it already, Joe, haven't we? That Barnsley, the fixture list probably wasn't particularly kind to them at the start of this season. Definitely some tough games in there, and maybe some games as well that were tougher than you expected. You mentioned Birmingham, who looked like they could be, real playoff contenders this season. But what have you made of the start? 1 win, 3 draws, and just the 1 loss. I guess the question you have to think is obviously looking at the league table. How do you turn those draws into wins? And I guess the answer might be bringing in those attacking players that we haven't managed to see just yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan, hopefully. That's the you look at QPR away, we're beating QPR 2-0, and they're obviously a quality side, and they've got great attacking players. But that first half was probably the best 45 minutes of football I've seen from Barnsley in some time, and that's including last season where we were brilliant. We were just so good. And to actually draw that game, it hurt so bad because I just thought, we so deserved to win. But then on the second half, to be fair to QPR, they were brilliant at coming back, and we sort of bottled it a little bit on that one. So fair point, to be fair. But yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult for us at the minute to get over the line in some of these draws. I think that obviously last season Valerian's tactic was he just hated draws, and I think he just basically threw the kitchen sink at it and said, you know what, if we're going to lose, we're going to lose, but we're going to go down absolutely fighting, and we're just going to chuck 3 strikers on and see if we can win. And you know what, more often than not, it paid off for us. We go and nick a last minute winner, and they were vital to getting us in the playoffs, those points. So I like that. I'd rather be. I hate draws. I'd rather have win or loss. So I'm hoping we're gonna, now we've got the strikers, we'll go for it a little bit more. But I think Marcus Schopp's hands have been tied a little bit because he's not had much from the bench. The starting 11 looks really strong, like a really strong Championship team, a team that could easily compete top 10. But then you look at the bench and you're thinking, there's not really much there at the minute. And it's just because we haven't got the new faces in, and really we need them in. And then you've got the difference between having 12 competitive players to having 15, 16 that can really compete at this level. And when we get that, we should be able to see games out a bit better. But in looking at the start we've had, Birmingham did look really good. Chong seemed like a talented player. They've got quite a bit of talent in there. They look like a really strong side, added some quality, so they should have probably beat us, but we managed to get a draw from that one. QPR, like I mentioned, another really good side. So yeah, there's been a couple of draws in there. Cardiff away, we'd take that any day of the week because we never get anything at Cardiff. So that was like a win. That was like a massive victory. I think we'll be talking about that one all season. So we were happy to get that draw away at Cardiff. But yeah, I think it's been a really good start, actually. I think, we could have probably had a few more points on the board, but considering all the factors, considering the injuries and the new players not being fit and ready to go yet, or visas or whatever it is, the issues that have had, I think give us another 5 games, we'll be there. This weekend's going to be tough, obviously, Bournemouth away and then Stoke next week. 2 hard fixtures for us when we're still in the mix of things. But yeah, quite happy. I'd say quite happy at the minute.
Yeah, no, that's good. That is good. Just looking ahead then to the rest of this season, obviously early days. I think we've sort of touched on where you might be happy with this year, with the changes that have happened. What can you see being a sort of realistic, attainable target for Barnsley for the rest of this season?
Yeah, like I mentioned, we'd snap your hand off at top 10 probably at this point. The thing is, George, the talent's still there. You've only lost really 2 players, and we were very good. A lot of people say Daryl DK was, the big player that helped us just push into the playoffs, and he was amazing. Don't get me wrong, I loved him, and if we could have him back, I'd have him back in a heartbeat. But Carlton Morris was actually just as influential, and he's still a Barnsley player and got a nice contract with us. And okay, he's injured at the minute, but when he comes back, he's going to be absolutely, key to our success this season if he can get back fit and hit the ground running. So I'm still really optimistic we can push for a top 6 place. Fans will say it's been a steady start, but we, like I said, 2 points last season at this point. There's no reason why we can't get it together in the next few weeks and push on. You might say the more realistic, glass half empty Barnsley fans might say, mid-table, and they'll definitely take that. And I would, I'd take that. That's a massive achievement. We've got to kind of, in a way, stop looking at last season and give Marcus Schopp a good chance and acknowledge that, if we finish in the middle of the table, he's done a really good job, and we've got to give him credit for that. And then, next season, it'd be a case of trying to push for that top 10 again. But I still think I don't think we'll be in any risk of relegation. I know it's not something you want to say live on a show 5 games in. So please delete this footage if we get relegated. But I'm gonna hang myself out there and say we won't get relegated this season. Worst case scenario, we might be bottom half if we have bad injuries and things don't go our way. But with this team we've got enough talent to finish in the top 6, and it's just about whether everything clicks into place like it did last year, or whether we get a bit unlucky with injuries and different bits and bobs.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I mean, hopefully no one will cut that little clip about the relegation out at the end of the year. Hopefully that won't be needed. I agree. No. There's plenty of talent in that Barnsley squad, definitely. Okay, that's looking ahead to the rest of the season. Before we wrap up, let's just look ahead to this weekend. Bournemouth this weekend for your lot, Joe. 2 teams that made the playoffs last season, of course. How are you feeling about that one?
Oh, yeah, this will be a nice, easy one for us. Obviously, Bournemouth away. Only signed like another 5 really quality players, aren't there? So, shouldn't be too hard. No, Bournemouth, great talent. Clearly a side that were devastated not to go up last season. And out of the teams in the playoffs, they were the ones, obviously, that come down from the Prem and were really desperate to get up there straight away, I think. In terms of, there's always that pressure in there with the parachute payments and all that. Can we do it quickly so we can just get straight back to where we think we should belong and all that? They've signed really well. It's going to be really tough. I mean, Barnsley this weekend, we're missing Liam Kitchen, who's just got a 3-match ban retrospectively after the Birmingham games. So that's going to be really tough. And we're also missing Mads Andersen through injury at the minute, and he was key last season. And to top it off, Mikel Helik's he might be playing against England this week, so he's probably going to be a little bit tired legs. I mean, he played against San Marino the other day, so hopefully his legs aren't too tired from that one, less San Marino. But if he does play against England, it's going to be another sort of, he might not be fully fit and ready to go and fresh for this weekend. So it's going to be tricky defensively because we know that Bournemouth have got bags and bags of talent going forward. But I still think we've got enough quality, and hopefully, if we can get a couple of the new lads maybe to come off the bench later on, I'm gonna say we're gonna draw 2-2. But I think this next week for Barnsley, it's going to be really tough because we've got obviously them and then Stoke. Stoke are a really good side as well this season. So a lot of the sides have come back with a bit of a vengeance this season. That the ones that sort of finished mid-table and they look like they've strengthened. So. It's just been a hard lot of fixtures, George. I'm waiting for some easier ones. I don't want to name any teams because I'll upset somebody and get you some dislikes. But I'm waiting for some of the easier teams if there's such thing in the Championship, so that we can get some points on that board as soon as possible.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry about the dislikes; they come along anyway for me. But yeah, no, it should be a really interesting game. I think 2 are really exciting one for the neutral as well, if not a bit dangerous for the old heart for Barnsley fans. But I think you'd probably take a point given the investment Bournemouth have made again in the summer. Okay, let's just move away from that and let's just talk about you, Joe. Where can we catch your musings on Barnsley? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, well, if you enjoy loads of Barnsley fans just rambling about the Reds and having a bit of banter, it's Red All Over on YouTube. You can just search it on YouTube, Red All Over. And our show's quite lighthearted. We do like to have a bit of banter, George. So for opposition fans, we will take the mick a little bit. All nice and lighthearted, don't worry. So just get ready to banter with us. We love your comments as well. So we're happy to take all comments. We like to engage with opposition fans. So there'll be plenty of that. You can get us Red All Over on YouTube, and we're on Twitter as well. I'm on Twitter at Joe Beardsall if you want to follow me. But I'd probably advise just go for the YouTube channel, because you don't want to see what I've got to say every week. The rest of the fans are much more interesting than me.
Okay, well, that's a ringing endorsement for yourself, at least. But yeah, make sure everyone at home watching, make sure you get on that, subscribe where you can. And if you can as well, it'd be really great if you can subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube. That'd be really appreciated. Okay, that brings to an end our latest fan takeover with Barnsley this week. Joe, we'll have to get you on in a few months again, look at how the season's been going. But thanks again for joining me this morning. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully you've enjoyed it at home as well. We'll speak to you soon.